I don't think Calvin Ridley's good.
All right, we're back, baby. Michael, how are you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. I think post-draft, those jitters are gone. Now it's ready to get rolling, but let's get this thing going.
Dude, we are 2 days away from NFL football.
Oh, man, I can't wait. I couldn't get any work done today thinking about it. Like, it's just, man, it's here.
Gosh. It's just all day long roster baiting.
Yeah.
You're just constantly looking at my roster, seeing if anything's changed. Nothing has, but enjoy it all the
But
same.
we like to think it does. We like the little bits of even Matthew Berry's dumbass rankings. I still like to look at them and just to see the numbers, man. It's a good time this year.
Justin's a big fan of those rankings.
Yeah. We know Justin's love for Matthew Berry, and I don't know why, but, it's one of the things that helps him get to that 8th place finish every year, so we're excited for him.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Broken Bow. Did you have a good time? Do you think we should kind of do a draft like that every year moving forward?
So I think I was telling people throughout the entire weekend that that's exactly what I want to do every single year going forward. I think that was the perfect situation. We're not asking people to go all the way out to Vegas and do crazy things. I think Broken Bow is the perfect way for us to get rowdy, get a little wild, but also it's about the draft. And I think we were able to do that this weekend. I was pleasantly surprised at how well everyone did. I think our league, for as much shit as we give them, I think they deserve some props on this past draft. I think everyone actually brought their A game this year.
Yeah, that was a shocker. I think we really kind of separated ourselves as a very competitive league. You had Patrick Mahomes not going to the late third, which was pretty crazy. And then after that, you really didn't have a big quarterback run like all in one round, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, props to everybody. I think for the most part, everyone was expecting us to do some draft grades today. I'm thinking we take it in a different direction. I'm thinking that instead we'll kind of just go through team by team and do a little bit of analysis on a good pick, bad pick. Then we'll kind of discuss some trades, and if we have any time left over, maybe we'll do some matchup predictions. But let's dive into actually first some current events going on, some updates around the league. Tell me what's going on in the NFL and how it's affecting our league, Michael.
Well, we had some breaking news this afternoon that Chris Godwin has come up short with a groin injury. And so that's not the biggest thing I want to hear of. Now, it's nothing even close to the J.K. Dobbins news.
Yeah.
That's probably taken the league by storm, and especially it was, an hour after Logan drafted him. It just can't feel good, and so I don't want to sit here and complain when Logan's still in mourning right now.
Gosh, man, it was immediately after the draft, and he goes down and tears up his whole knee. Yeah. Classic Logan.
The things people will do to not be on Logan's team, man, it's just wild.
Excellent. So let's go ahead and dive into any other news we should go over real quick. I think we had J.K., we had Chris Godwin. Is Saquon expected to play?
So Saquon is expected to play. They're gearing him up is the quote that was used for Week 1. Now, they have a quick turnaround with Washington on a Thursday night game for Week 2. So we should see a snap count. We should see him probably it'll be in the ballpark from 12 to 14 touches in my opinion. But I also don't think the Giants are really going to ease him back in. I think that they're just going to run him to the ground like they did the past 3 years. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I think the classic phrase, actions speak louder than words. Them cutting Gallman is a big sign of hope for Saquon, in my opinion.
That, and they also cut Corey Clement. I'm sorry, was that Philly? I think that was Philly that cut Corey Clement. But they only kept 3 running backs on the roster and then a fullback. So they think very highly of Saquon. That was something I was looking into come draft time when it became a reality that Saquon was going to be sitting with me at the 10th pick. So I feel very comfortable that Saquon, if he doesn't perform this week, they're really just gearing him up going forward. And then by week 3, he should be good to go.
Gotcha. And the only other injury I can think of is DeAndre Swift. I think they're expecting him to play. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think he just got a little fat, apparently. It sounds like they're just not in football shape right now. I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard that before. Whenever I think of DeAndre Swift, especially coming out of Georgia, I was a big fan of his. I think he's a great pass-catching back. I think it just seems like they're going to ease him back a little bit. They got Jamal Williams, which is just a huge duo in the backfield. I think Jamal Williams has been a slept-on running back for years. So I think you may see a little bit of a 1-2 punch, and then they'll be down by 40 by halftime, so they'll just be throwing it from there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Jamal Williams is a great pass blocker as a running back. And so you're going to get him an annoying amount, which I think Swift may not return value in the third. But we'll see. All right, I think that's all for our current events and updates around the NFL and how it affects our league. Let's go ahead and dive into some good pick, bad pick, and we'll just take it from the top. So Chris Armijo, the first overall pick. Now I'm thinking for good pick, bad pick, we try to keep our good picks anywhere after round 3, unless it's just a tremendous value in the third round, just because it's easy to have good picks in the first 2 rounds. Bad pick can obviously be anywhere.
Especially when you have CMC just staring you right in the face. I think it'd be just a waste of time to talk about his first round.
Yeah, oh yeah, you really nailed your first pick there, Chris, taking CMC. Just real genius of you.
Hey, on a side note, I just want to ask your opinion on this. How much easier is it to draft in the beginning of the draft? I was looking at some of the players that Chris and Matt got to stare at on the turn every single time, and it's just it's spoon-fed to them. It's wild how easy the early parts are.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you just have incredible players dropping in your lap. You're just choosing what great player do I want here? And then you can kind of just go off of positional needs. So, easy draft for them, and I will say both their teams do look pretty good between Chris and Matt. But here, you start off with Chris. You do a good pick, bad pick.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at Deontay Johnson in the 4th round, and this may not be the slam dunk bad pick. I think Deontay Johnson, for as good as that offense can be and for as many targets as he's going to see, he's got a lot of battles that he's going to be fighting in terms of weapons that Ben Roethlisberger has at his disposal. I think you obviously have the trio of receivers. I think Eric Ebron, regardless of what you want to say about him, is going to eat up some targets. I think Najee Harris is an obvious pick that they're committing to the run, and they're going to get him involved in the passing game. And then Big Ben, it's just another year in the league. We don't know how that elbow feels, 2 years removed from surgery. He's looked good in the preseason. But if it were me, I would stay away from those trio receivers, especially when you have an aging quarterback. Now, for the good pick, I know that I do want to make a side note. I know we said we weren't going to talk about the third-round picks. I love that he got a tight end to start off that third round. I think these 3 tight ends, Darren Waller, George Kittle, and Travis Kelce, really separate people from the league. So I think, grade A on that, Chris. I think you really stood out getting that third tight end, even though you took him at the second one.
So you think Kittle's the better pick over Waller?
I just think Kittle's a better football player. I think you're splitting hairs if you're gonna slam your fist down of Kittle over Waller. But if it were me, I would have taken Kittle. But you're not going to go wrong with Darren Waller. That man's going to get 120 targets this year.
He's definitely the safer floor.
He is the safer floor. Wait, are you saying because of injuries?
No, because of how many receptions he'll get.
Yeah.
Kittle can explode offensively, have a huge amount of touchdowns, huge amount of yards, but Waller's getting the receptions that I don't think Kittle's getting 10 receptions a game like Waller could potentially get.
Yeah. So are you saying you would take Waller in that situation? Or
it depends what you're going for. I think in Chris's situation, I like this safety pick because you have such a high floor already with CMC. But I can see the argument the other way, too.
Yeah, so this actually, I know we're going to get off track a little bit, but he took Allen Robinson in the second round, which to me is the safe pick. So that's when it's time. You got Christian McCaffrey to me is a safe pick, regardless. I know he's the best player in fantasy football. For me, that just means it's safe. And then Allen Robinson with a safe pick. It would have been interesting to see him roll the dice a little bit with George Kittle for that up end. But, in all, those 3 picks, we got off track. Those are all good. I think another good pick that he got is Corey Davis. Everyone knows my love for Corey Davis. I think you're really going to see it this year. I think he's the clear-cut number 1. I think they want to make Zach Wilson look good. And I think this offense is going to move a little bit. I think you're going to see Corey Davis really start to break out. He's a big body receiver, man.
I do like Corey Davis a lot. I think a lot of people are expecting a good amount of just receptions for him. But let's not forget, Jamison Crowder exists, right? Mm-hmm. And Jamison Crowder's existence is just to catch the ball about 5 yards away.
Yep.
So,
yeah, Elijah Moore's coming in too. So there's going to be a lot of weapons to compete with. I think Corey's the alpha, though.
Yeah, I agree. I do like him. All right, so I'll take Matt Ruiz for our good pick, bad pick. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm sorry, guys. Keep backtracking on you. Let's go ahead and analyze the names as we go. So we'll do good pick, bad pick, and let's grade everyone's team name. So Chris has 5-star man.
And I think there's something to be said with classic names. I think, it almost reminds me, I keep comparing him to the Cowboys with his 8-8 records. I think that classic Cowboy look, I think Chris, fits the mold with that. The 5-star man's done him well. I'm not a fan of these punny names. I think he went with his own original name, and I think he nailed it. I think it's a solid B+ name.
Yeah, I agree. It is a classic. All right, so let's move on to Matt Ruiz now. So let's think. I think for Matt's bad pick, and this may be an unpopular opinion with you, I think it's Kenny Golladay in the 6th. That is good value, and it is his starting flex. I think he will be infuriating this season. I think he'll miss games. I think the Giants' offense, especially the passing portion of it, will be a dumpster fire. The reports out of camp is all the Giants look terrible. Daniel Jones is constantly throwing interceptions. I saw this one play where there was not a receiver near him. He threw it directly to the linebacker. So I think Kenny Golladay will make himself unstartable because you just won't know when the good and bad games will come.
Yeah, and I mean, this may be too familiar with what I was experiencing last season, but the injuries with Kenny Golladay, they're not definite. They're always lingering things that you don't know week in, week out if he's going to play. It's a constant headache. I will say the quarterback downgrade from Matt Stafford to Daniel Jones is significant for me with Kenny Golladay, specifically because Kenny G is not someone who gets separation. Kenny G is someone who gets those 50-50 balls and high points everything. I don't think Danny Dimes is going to be able to get him those balls. I think Daniel Jones would really benefit from someone like Amari Cooper or one of those Chris Godwin, someone who generates separation before the catch.
I couldn't agree more. You have to have extreme confidence as a quarterback to throw a 50-50 ball. And I think he's so terrified of turning the ball over because he does it so much that he won't throw it. So that's my bad pick for Matt Ruiz. My good pick, which, once again, like you said, all his early picks are so good because there's so much value there. What round did Tom Brady go in? Let's see.
Well, CJ always puts these in horribly wrong. It's saying the 7th round.
It is the 7th round. I like Tom Brady in the 7th. I think Tom Brady's being...
That's who I was eyeing, by the way.
Horrifically undervalued. He's in a Bruce Arians offense who just likes to air it out. He's going to have a ton of touchdowns. Their running game really is an elite, so that's a good pick there for Matt Ruiz. And Matt Ruiz's team name, Big Nip Energy. I think it comes from his big nipples. That's the only thing I can think of. Do you have any player here that you know their big nipples that it would be coming from?
Man, I don't want to on air talk about anybody's big nipples. I will say I hate to give Matt credit. I think Matt consistently year in and year out has the best fantasy football name, and I hate admitting that, but Matt is the clear-cut champion when it comes to fantasy football names.
Interesting. He does have big nipples.
He's got small hands. Maybe that would be his next year's team name.
He has the smallest hands.
Yeah, I think that should be his name next year.
All right, enough of the trash person that is Matt Ruiz. Let's move on to our third pick, Austin Reeby. Good pick, bad pick. You take it from here.
Does Gus Edwards count? Can we use that as a good pick?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
he tripped into it.
Yeah, I think he tripped into it. And the thing that makes it especially good, and I think he'll really love hearing this, the joy that man had on his face when he heard that J.K. Dobbins hurt himself.
It's disgusting.
He was smiling from ear to ear. I don't think I've ever seen someone celebrate an injury so much.
It's a squeal of excitement that comes out of him.
It was weird, and I've never seen it before. So we'll go ahead and give you that as your good pick, Austin, because you really earned it there.
Yeah, way to root for someone to get injured, jerk.
All right, and then for the bad pick, let me go through his team because a lot of this is just nonsense because as I'm going through it, it says that he got Terry McLaurin in the 14th round. So that's just another, thing with CJ that he just can't seem to get right, is putting these draft orders incorrectly. Thank you. This makes it a whole lot easier. For bad pick, I think I'm going to go with James Conner. I think that there was still value in he got this 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th round. He got James Conner. There's still value for other people that could be much more suitable for your team. He got Kyler Murray early, and he already had 4 receivers, but it could have been another valuable receiver that he could have paired to get another running back with. I think he just kind of reached for someone just for the sake of getting a running back. So I think I would have to say that is the bad pick.
Yeah, it's a junk pick in the 7th. He obviously panicked because his RB2 was terrible, and then luckily he tripped once again into the Gus Edwards thing. All right, and then for his name, Camara virus.
I'm not big on the punny names. I think Austin can do better on this. I think he clearly looked this up, found it on namegenerator.com, and just kind of went with it. So I think we're expecting more out of a former champion.
I agree. Austin does always struggle with the names. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Good pick, bad pick. Nate the Great. All right, Nathan, let's take a look. So for your good pick, actually, I'm going to start with bad pick. I don't like Tyler Lockett in the fourth, and I know we all really encouraged him to take him in the moment. I remember in the moment everyone was chanting, take him, and he did it. But I think the fourth's too early for Lockett. Lockett's a good wide receiver 3 or flex player. I think, once again, you'll be frustrated as a wide receiver 2. Good pick. Not a lot to choose from, honestly. I'm not a big fan of anything past round 5. I'll say Lamar. I think Lamar is a value in the 5th, actually. There is kind of a fine line of you want to be a pro and not take a quarterback too early, but there's always a point when a player is valuable. And I think Lamar in the 5th is a pretty good option. He's going to produce at a high level. I don't see any way that he has as bad of a year fantasy-wise as he did last year.
The one side note I'd say with Lamar, he went before Josh Allen, and I'm not a fan of that.
Okay, did he? Yeah, I don't agree with that either.
So Lamar, it wasn't just him. It was Lamar, Kyler, and I think Josh Allen was the 4th quarterback taken. So that was a bad on pretty much all of our parts.
Yeah, that's gross. So I guess it's a bad pick, man pick for Nathan.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, Nathan likes the mad picks, though, so we're doing him justice.
Okay, and on to his team name, Gas and Ass. The S's being with money signs. I don't know what this means. Can maybe I'm missing a nickname here? Who is Gas?
I don't know, but I love that it's all caps, and that's so Nathan.
Yelling, Gas and Ass, baby.
It's so on brand with Nathan, and he obviously has the dignity to put the dollar sign so that's not just saying ass. He has too much pride to just be blatantly cursing on the fantasy football app.
He can't risk the children seeing his app, and I do respect that, Nathan. All right, on to the next guy. Who do we got here?
The one and only Logan.
Oh, yeah, I'll let you take him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to take the low-hanging fruit. I actually like J.K. going into the season. I don't think that was a bad pick. It's just unfortunate. Injuries happen, and it's actually pretty wild that it's been this few leading up to it. I think on the good pick, I got to go with Odell Beckham.
Really?
In the 6th round, if you think about this, now he's had some trades and he's had some movements. Odell Beckham's his flex player right now. And we all know OBJ is the boom-bust player. I still believe that Odell Beckham can find some of what he had back in his heyday. I think that Browns offense, even though it's going to be run first, they're still going to find a way to get him involved. And he's still just a super athlete. So at the very best, you have an elite receiver returning to form. At the very worst, you have to replace your flex option. So I actually think that was a good move on his part.
Yeah, there's definitely a world where he ends up being a great value. I just think that we've seen him in this system. Is this his 3rd year as a Brown?
I think this is.
And you haven't seen a lot of success there. And it's going to be a defensive team, and it's going to be a run-first team. So once again, I just have a hard time believing we're going to see the Odell that we saw back when he had Eli Manning and he was in the Giants offense.
Yeah, and it's tough because you have to separate the fantasy from the real life. Odell Beckham's still a freak athlete, and so it's rough to see it. But I still do stand with it's a good risk at that spot, sitting with a good quarterback, and you already have the rest of your team built out. He's your flex player. If he doesn't perform, that's much more easy to replace than your RB1. So I actually think that was a good pick. For his bad pick, I'm going to break the rules a little bit. I'm going to talk about Derrick Henry. I don't think Derrick Henry was a top 5 running back leading into this. And I made it known off air on our first podcast, but I was kind of glad to see him go because that meant better picks for me at pick 10.
I actually do agree with you. I was wanting Henry to be gone. I wouldn't have taken him if he had fallen to me at 6 also. What running back outside that went after Henry would you have taken before Henry?
I would have taken Saquon before Henry.
Okay.
So I signed off on Saquon, taking him 10th overall. I had Saquon rated as the 5th. The talent's too much. Regardless of how bad that O-line is, you're going to get him involved in the screen game. You're going to get involved in the passing game. much like a Kamara and a CMC. He's a receiver out of the backfield, not just kind of one of those guys like Chris Carson who gets dump-off passes. I think there's a couple others. You knew how high I was on Antonio Gibson, and I'm still mourning for not getting him in the second round, damn you, Josh. But I would have taken Antonio Gibson over Derrick Henry, too, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, it does sound pretty crazy. It's an unproven offense, an unproven usage, but I get it. Risk reward. And lastly, his team name, CD's Nuts.
Yeah, man, it's the puns. I'm not a big fan of the puns, but if we're judging off the pun value, I think this one was pretty funny because it's pretty damn funny to yell it if you're winning. If you're winning and you're beating someone and you win your week, to yell CD's Nuts, that's got to be pretty rewarding. Now, it only happened 2 or 3 times this year, yes. But those 3 weeks will be really fun for Logan.
It's severely lacking in class, and I think that brings a funny.
Yeah, I actually like that. That sounded like a negative, but
no,
that's
what you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so now we're off to the next draftee, Alex, and I'll take him. I think he nailed it. No, I'm just kidding. I'll let Michael go back to back here because this seems unfair.
Yeah, I have to pull yours up. I wasn't ready to do it. I fully intended on you taking the ownership of this one and using the excuse of it falling to you. I think I'm going to start off with your bad, and I think you missed the mark with Mike Davis. Now, you immediately got rid of him, and I think you noticed that and turned it into Mark Andrews, which Mark Andrews in the 5th would have been a fine pick. But I think when you took Mike Davis over Myles Gaskin, I think that was a mistake. I think I'm pretty on par with record saying that I think Myles Gaskin is going to be the lead back. I think he's a RB2 at the worst. He's going to get a lot of passes out of the backfield. I think you could have just gotten better value. I understand Mike Davis is going to be the workhorse, is going to get a lot of volume in the Falcons offense.
Yeah, I don't know now that they signed Gallman.
That
really bailed me out.
Yeah, I think Mike Davis is – people think he's going to be the Carolina Mike Davis of the first several weeks McCaffrey was out last year. I don't think that work volume is going to stick. I think the Falcons like to pass it. I think they're going to get Kyle Pitts involved. I think he's probably the 4th option on that offense. But going to your good pick, Ryan Tannehill, it was no secret whatsoever. Everyone had him circled. It was just a matter of when you could get him. I think you did the perfect job of letting everyone else get their quarterback earlier and then letting Ryan Tannehill just fall into your lap. So if you look at it, every single person except for Matt and myself took a quarterback before you, and you were able to have Ryan Tannehill just fall into your lap at a convenient time. Now, you turned around and flipped him. Obviously, you made this trade that we'll get into in a second. But I think Ryan Tannehill was a fine quarterback pick that is consistently slept on. Wasn't slept on this year, but he fell in your lap.
I agree. Let's move on to Trenton.
Let's do the team name.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want a little bit of give me a background on the inspiration of it.
So I think everyone saw that right during Aaron Rodgers' contract negotiations, him and Devontae Adams both posted the picture of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and said The Last Dance. I think these two are going to torch the league this year. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to give a flying F about whatever his coach tells him to do. And I think if he has a 1st and 1 on the goal line, he's going to chunk it to Devontae.
Yeah, and I think I'd love that you're going to benefit from that vengeance that they're going to have. I think that's just going to be a fun time for you. I think you're probably the biggest Packer fan in our league right now, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and I think I'm the only one that really knows how to wield them.
Yeah.
You know, someone's tried to stack them in the past, and they didn't know how to maneuver them correctly.
That's true.
Can't remember who it is. But let's go ahead and move on to
Well,
Trenton.
it's a power that only few can hold, and I think him the person in mind that you're talking about has now upgraded to Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, and I think that man's just not he's not capable of holding that kind of power. So,
yep, let's move on to that man. So Trenton, Tyreek's biggest fan was his draft name, so he already knew what he was going to take. Good pick, bad pick. I hate Josh Jacobs in the 4th. I hate it. And I think you actually disagree here. I think that Josh Jacobs will only be valuable in a positive game script. And that team is never going to be in a positive game script. He doesn't receive out of the backfield. He may have the ability to. He doesn't do it. So really you're touchdown dependent. And you can't sit here and tell me the Raiders are going to be scoring 4 touchdowns a game. It's not going to happen. So I think Josh Jacobs in the 4th is gross. I think Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd, even though most drafts he doesn't fall that far, you're sacrificing huge value there. But I get it. He wanted the stack, and, he is locked in at quarterback. Oh, God, I have to tax somebody else. I got Ryan Fitzpatrick, Trenton, in the 9th. I've had time to calm down on it because I was upset originally, and then I forgot. And now I just looked at it again, and I'm pissed. So I ripped you up a little bit, and I know you're going to be mad at me. So let me give you some good ones. I do like that you still went receiver in the 1st. I'm a big fan of zagging when everyone else zigs. You did that. You did not fall on the running back train. I also really like you taking Joe Mixon in the 2nd just because he burned you last year, but I think there is opportunity there. And I do like Chase Claypool in the 5th. But, God, Fitzpatrick in the 7th? And then this bastard has the nerve to copy my icon. He sees me post my Last Dance picture in the fantasy app, and he just duplicates it. It's the same thing with the Chiefs players. So this guy's really rubbed me the wrong way.
There's no Last Dance with the Chiefs players. He just has some corny line just getting started. It's not even clever.
No, and they're on year 4, and they won a Super Bowl. They'd already begun. It started.
Yeah, where have you been, Trenton?
I'm not paying attention to football. We know that. And then lastly, his team name, Big Dick Trent. I don't know if he's talking about another Trent. He doesn't even like to go by Trent, so I don't know if he's referring to some other Trent's manhood. But as far as his team name, I think it's kind of it's Matt Ruiz-esque,
Yeah, it's wannabe Matt. It doesn't live up to the notoriety of team names that Matt holds, but I don't think it's the worst team name. I think it's just the amount of disgusting that we want in the fantasy football league. But I think Trent's more clever than that.
I agree. All right, I'm gonna go back to back here just so the picks work out correctly for whenever I grade your team. Justin. So this is a guy that really took the role of CJ after the draft. I mean, he just loved his team. Yes. He loves that the final standing projections have him at first. I texted him for a trade. He's like, I really love my team, man. I just want to see how it plays out. So he's really on board that he nailed this draft. So let's analyze it a little bit. DeAndre Swift in the 3rd was a terrible pick.
Interesting.
He was openly injured. He would have fallen to him in the 4th, in my opinion. Now, at this point, he is trending up, so it's getting better. But at that time, we didn't know if he was starting week 1. So I think DeAndre Swift in the 3rd, not knowing if he's going to start, bad offense, Jamal Williams is there. I would have taken Chris Carson over him.
Absolutely.
I might have taken James Robinson over him. I probably would have taken J.K. at the time over him. Anyways, I think that's a pretty bad pick. Good pick. I love Raheem Mostert in the 6th. I think Raheem Mostert's undervalued. I think as long as he stays healthy, you're part of a Shanahan run offense that is elite. And then if Trey Lance does get the start, which I think everyone's at this point is predicting he will, you're going to have some crazy run options going on. It's going to be Redskins-esque of whenever they had RG3.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm interested to see what you think about his name. It's kind of one that he's stuck with for a while now.
Yeah, it's lame. His team name's lame. Houston Can Bangers. Oh, God, for God's sakes, man. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of his team name. Let's go ahead and move on to the next person, Siege.
Yeah, CJ is someone who, especially after this recent trade, I think is really set up to actually make some noise this year. I was surprised at how calculated and how methodical he actually took this draft. Starting off with the negatives, I'm not a fan of Logan Thomas. I don't think Logan Thomas is going to repeat the one-off year that he had. What is he, 32 years old now? We've never seen it other than last season. I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to get him as involved as people think. I think Logan Thomas was a beneficiary of a lot of Alex Smith dump-offs.
Logan Thomas is 32?
I think Logan Thomas is 32.
Oh my gosh.
Definitely in his 30s.
Okay.
And he's a safety blanket. And Alex Smith really liked his safety blanket. We know Fitzmagic doesn't. I think Logan Thomas is going to be a tight end drop within week 4. But I don't, it's not like he reached super high for him. I just don't really think that that's going to work out for him. For the good, now, this was another guy that was no secret, but Jerry Jeudy in the 6th is a steal.
Absolutely.
Improved quarterback play, albeit it's still not great. Teddy Bridgewater is Teddy check down for a reason. He's going to get Jerry Jeudy involved a lot, and Jeudy loves him some slot action. Jeudy is one of the best young route runners in the league, albeit he didn't have a good rookie season. I think this guy is primed to pop this year. I think he's going to get involved a lot, and if I were CJ, this is talking strategy a little bit, and I don't want to put this on air, but I do think Jerry Jeudy is going to be one of the perfect people that I would pair with someone else to get one of those elite players as I make a championship push. So I do think Jerry Jeudy is going to be a trade piece going forward, but I think he's going to be a standout, and he's at the very least going to provide some type of trade value in the future.
Yeah, I love Jeudy. PPR monster. And then his team name, which I think is personally freaking adorable.
I love it. I'm so proud of CJ this season. I think he actually knocked it out of the park. His team is good. He traded really well. I know I keep, forecasting it, but the trade with me, he handled it really well. I think he did an awesome job. And his team name's awesome. I think he killed it.
The team name's so cute, TJ. Good job. All right, let's move on to Michael Brown. All right, so good pick, bad pick.
Give it to me.
Good pick is absolutely, in hindsight, Myles Gaskin in the 6 is a good pick. Even I messed up there. I probably should have taken him over Mike Davis, who I panicked took in the 5th. That's great value there. It is risky, but if it doesn't pan out, you're not even losing very much, right? Because it's your 6th pick. So it's running back depth, it's trade value, it's a very good pick. So good work there. I think Michael Gallup is going to be dropped. So I think Michael Gallup, round 9, you're kind of taking flyers at that point anyways. I think you could probably grab the better flyer. You could have gone to Darnell Mooney, Mike Williams, somewhere in that area. Marvin Jones Jr., I don't know if he went right before or right after. But I think Michael Gallup, even though he's a great receiver and wherever he ends up next year, I think he'll be probably number 1 on our Dallas Cowboys. I don't think he's going to get enough work for you to be able to start him.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And I know that other people haven't gotten to argue their point for their bad picks, but that's the benefit of being on the podcast. I would say for Michael Gallup, it's weird that he, to me, feels like a handcuff for Amari Cooper. I know Amari's been struggling with some soft tissue at previous years, and Amari's a stud. I don't have no worries about Amari whatsoever. But in the off chance that someone gets hurt, I would feel perfectly comfortable throwing out Amari and Michael Gallup if, say, CeeDee Lamb went down or something. So it's more of a handcuff pick. I also love me some Cowboys. I'm going to keep one of those receivers on just in case. But, yeah, just kind of the thought process behind that. I know handcuffs for receivers is something that is weirdly never talked about, but there could be some value for that.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. All right, and then the team name, the Quad Squad. It speaks for itself. Saquon has excellent quads. You're able to pretty much live through him because of your lack of quads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fitness jab. And I can dish it out and not take it, so please don't give me one of those. But other than that, fun team name. Let's move on to Brandon. You take it.
Brandon. I want to start with the team name. I think it's by far the worst team name I've ever seen in the league. I think it
grosses me out.
Awful. It is awful.
The picture of the dude smelling his pits, I don't even like to look at his team because it grosses me out.
It is an awful name. It's not clever. It's not short and sweet. It's just a weird name. I hope that I want to stay on this topic for as long as I can to drive home how much I hate it. I really, really hope that by the end of this podcast he changes it. But going to his picks, now he's had some trades, so some of his picks have maneuvered just a little bit. I will say, I think he reached a little bit from Mike Evans in the 3rd. Now I know it's the end of the 3rd. I know Mike Evans is one of the most consistent players in the league. I just think there's a lot of mouths to feed, and I would have been much more comfortable getting one of those stud receivers on another team that gets more target share. I think Cortland Sutton in looks like the 6th round. There could be some upside with that. I think Cortland Sutton's kind of the one that stands out to me just because before he got hurt, he was the clear-cut, bona fide number 1 receiver. Even with bad quarterback play, that man was a breakout. He was starting to become a superstar in the league. So it depends on how much that ACL is recovered, if he's still running right. I know he was battling some shoulder injury earlier in the offseason, but I think Cortland Sutton could stand out to be a very solid wide receiver 2 for him.
Okay, interesting, because I'll be honest with you. I believe that Bridgewater cannot support 2 startable wide receivers. So if you had to pick your money on which one's going to be the better bet, is it Judy or is it Sutton?
Yeah, I would take Judy in this one. And that actually, it's interesting, they went right next to each other. So Myles Gaskin was right in the middle of those 2 in this draft. I would take Judy just because of the upside. Coming out of the draft 2 years ago with Jerry Jeudy, he was arguably the best route runner we had seen coming into the NFL in a long time. I think that has instant value in the NFL. Granted, he had a drop problem. He's still a star in the league in the making. So I think I would give him the slight edge. Also for the fact that he has more versatility to him. He can run out of the slot. He can run out wide. He's got the deep play threat. I just think there's a little bit more versatile aspect to his game. But I don't think either of those guys are going to do bad. I actually think I disagree with that with the Teddy concept just because those are the clear-cut top 2 receivers. So I think they're both going to bring value.
So does that mean Fant will be unstartable?
Yeah, I actually faded Fant going forward, and I noticed as we were talking about that was – I think that was his – no, he didn't take Fant. I think Josh has Fant.
Josh has Fant.
Josh has Fant. Okay. I think Fant was someone that I saw ranking really high during the draft order and during the pre-draft process. I had Dallas Goedert, who I obviously ended up with. I had Dallas Goedert ahead of him. I had Mike Gesicki over him. I even had people like Irv Smith and Jonnu Smith over him. So I actually think Noah Fant, albeit phenomenal talent, we just haven't seen it in Denver.
All right. And just to close on that, Brandon, change your freaking team name.
Dude, it's awful.
All right, and now we'll close out with our sweet, sweet draft bitch, Josh. I think Josh was saying that, and my apologies to Josh. I know I gave him some crap about the half marathon at bad timing. 13 miles is very impressive.
I didn't know if I should bring it up or not. I don't know if the feelings are still touchy, but I do think we should address how hilarious it was being on the sideline for that conversation.
Yeah, things got a little hot. I did text Josh personally afterwards saying, my apologies. He didn't respond, so I don't know if him and I are on good terms. But let's analyze his team anyways. So I'm going to say good pick, Antonio Gibson. And here's why. It was dirty. You told everyone how bad you wanted that guy. And it's no secret that you just ran this man over the coals last season. So he got you back. He took your boy right before you could get him.
And I do want to address that wasn't me throwing smoke screens at people. I am a huge Antonio Gibson fan. So I actually knew when I took Saquon with the 10th pick, he wasn't going to get back to me because of how much that stock has driven up. Not necessarily from me, but I think other people have really been building him up. So it's a bittersweet day talking about it. But Josh, you got to steal with a second-round pick. He may be your keeper even with a second-round pick next year.
And then for bad pick, I'm going with T. Higgins in the 5th. It's too early to take a guy that you have no idea if he's going to be startable, how involved he'll be in the offense. Obviously, last year he emerged as a very good wide receiver on the Bengals. They put some very high draft capital into Jamar Chase. And then also you already have the established veteran of Tyler Boyd, who's also a good receiver. So in my opinion, I wouldn't take any Bengals receiver in the top 5 picks, and 2 of them did go there.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been the story with the receivers this year. I've noticed, you could pair the Pittsburgh receivers, you could pair the Bengals receivers kind of in the same boat. I wouldn't put the Bucs in there just because I think the Bucs are going to be able to support all 3 of those receivers. But those teams that are supporting an unclear pecking order, I just stayed away from throughout the entire draft process. It's just too much.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, and then his team name, Chubby Chasers. Is this a new team name, or is this what he had last year?
I think this is a new team name. I think this is a new year, new Josh, and he he set his standards really high.
Oh, it's off Nick Chubb. Okay. I get it now. That's on me. Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't notice until you just said it there.
Yeah.
So I thought he just liked fat girls.
And he might. He might. Some of us do. I'm not one of them. No, but I'm going to just move off this. I wish I hadn't said any of that. All right, so in his team name, Chubby Chasers, that's fine. His team logo is still just a purple helmet with the E on it. Josh, let's get some creativity. Let's put a better logo in there.
A little lazy. Absolutely.
All right, so that's the end of our good pick, bad pick. Anything you want to say at the end of that segment, or should we just move on to the next thing?
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. I hate to admit it, but people really did their homework this year. We have one of the more competitive leagues. It's actually pretty cool to hear.
Yes, it's something that you really can't put a value on, having a league where everyone cares, and I am glad we have it, all jokes aside. All right, let's move on to trades. So even though the season hasn't even started yet, we had some trades popping off from the very beginning.
By my count, I think 5. Are we sitting at 5 trades?
5 already, wow. Which is good, right? We want an active league, so I'm glad to see people trading. Let's dive into it. The first trade was between Nathan and Brandon. This is actually in Broken Bow, and it was just real weird. They're swapping crap players. Who do we have here? So, yeah, you take it away.
Yeah, I think Nathan clearly won this, and not in a sense that like he's gaining any major value. I think he just got both of his handcuffs, and Brandon got Austin's handcuff and a crapshoot of running back, which may benefit him now that Mac Jones is the starter. But in Damian Harris, I don't think that there's anything that you ride home thinking, hell yeah, I got Damian Harris. So I think Brandon just kind of gave Nathan handcuffs. I don't think there's much more to read into it.
Yeah, I remember when it first happened, I thought Nathan won it, and the reason being was because I think there is a world where Sony Michel could be very viable in that offense. I think he could get a lot of goal line work. Henderson's proven to be pretty fragile in the past. So I think that's a better potential breakout pick compared to Damian Harris, who you're going to be frustrated with in the Pats backfield.
Yeah, real quick, who would you take, Sony Michel or Damian Harris straight up?
I would take Sony Michel just because of the upside.
And then now you add in the factor that Nathan gets a handcuff, Brandon doesn't get his handcuff.
Well,
what did Brandon do?
I'm sorry, say it again.
What was Brandon's thought process with this? Does he just love Damian Harris?
I guess so, and I think he thought Latavius Murray would be a good value to trade to Austin, but now Latavius Murray's unemployed. I don't know what he was thinking, but I think Nathan won that hands down.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to not give too much insight on it, but good job, Nathan. You got your handcuffs and you unloaded some bad players, so good on you.
All right, next trade is between me and Logan. Sorry, Logan and I. Logan and I. I apologize, everybody. I know you're real sticklers for that.
It's actually Logan and me. I just want to go ahead and...
Is it actually?
It's actually Logan and me.
I work in finance, not an English bitch.
Yeah, I kind of want to take the reins on this one just because outsider looking in now. I think tight ends, it was an interesting thing to see throughout the draft. I think tight ends were where everyone really honed in with their studying. And I noticed, tight ends were going early. We saw T.J. Hawkinson, as good as he is. I think he went in the 4th round. I think tight ends are going to be a premium and something that people are really holding on to this year. The interesting thing, and I'll give a little background to it, is Logan had other offers coming in after the JK news. So this isn't any breaking news. Logan messed up because he had an offer for Myles Gaskin and Matthew Stafford for Russell Wilson. So he maybe takes, 1 or 2 steps down with a quarterback, but gains, in my opinion, someone who was right on par with JK pre-injury that could have created some value for him. Instead, he gives one of his blue-chip players in Mark Andrews, one of his tight end studs, and gets Tyler Higbee and Mike Davis in return. Yeah,
so I agree. I think your offer was probably better to him. Context-wise, so it was Logan picking right before me, all right? So you have Mark Andrews go, and then you have Mike Davis go immediately after. So I think as far as negotiating went, it was easy for me to swap value for value, right? You had 2 fifth-rounders right next to each other. He was panicking and in a need for a running back. I threw the tight end replacement in there. Overall, I don't think it was a bad move for him. Should he have shopped around more, knowing we had so much time until the season started? Probably.
Yeah, that's the thing that stands out for me. No, it's not on its face value a horrible trade. I think Mark Andrews is one of those tight ends that you can dangle in front of people. I think it wouldn't have been hard to get offers for Mark Andrews is kind of my point. I think he did panic. I think the thing where Logan messes up is he'll take a trade and then he'll hone in on it and he just will do that trade. He never, and I'm not even hurt that he didn't respond to me or didn't come back to me. I could care less if you don't want to trade with me. He would have done himself a service by sending me a text saying, hey, Alex is offering this. Can we revisit what we had previously talked about? So leveraging that position a little bit would have gone a long way for him. He kind of missed the boat on that, and that's where I think he loses is he could have gotten more value.
Yeah, I agree with that. Next trade we have, also with me, and then it included Brandon. So I received Mike Evans and Aaron Rodgers, and Brandon received Ryan Tannehill and A.J. Brown. I'll give a little context, and I'll let you give your opinion. So I wanted the Aaron Rodgers Devontae stack more than anything going into this draft. I wanted it real bad. I knew I wasn't going to take Aaron in the 5th. I knew that's way too early. I was really banking on taking him in the 6th. When I didn't get him, I knew I had to go out and get him. I did pay a price. I think that Mike Evans is a downgrade from A.J. Brown more than Aaron Rodgers is an upgrade from Tannehill because quarterback scoring is so close. However, the combined points total of Aaron Rodgers throwing it to Devontae made, in my mind, worth it. And now Mike Evans is looking better because Chris Godwin is out for the season, correct?
Chris Godwin is not out for the season.
I believe his left leg fell off.
It's a minor groin injury. I think it was a bruise, actually, is what they said. But, yeah, going to this trade, I mean, it's the year of the stack. I think between both of y'all, you have a stack. Trenton has a stack. I clearly have that Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert stack that's just going to kill the league. But no, I think the stack is it's intoxicating and it's so much fun to have. Now I think we're overvaluing it a little bit. I understand wanting players that you really like, and I get that. I do think on its face value, the upside of A.J. Brown is a lot, and I think that was a lot to give up. Now, I was just earlier in this podcast, I was talking about how Mike Evans was a bit of a reach in the 3rd round. Mike Evans is a stud. Mike Evans has been like the most consistent receiver in the league for the past 8 years, and it's not even close. The man is a guaranteed 10-touchdown, 1,000-yard receiver.
Right.
He's got the greatest quarterback of all time throwing to him. I don't think Mike Evans is anything to snob at by any means. I just think A.J. Brown, he is a budding superstar. I think if people were scared by the incoming or the arrival of Julio Jones, I think that's quickly going to be pushed aside because AJ's going to get his target still. Derrick Henry running out of the backfield. There's going to be plenty of throwing lanes for Ryan Tannehill to A.J. Brown with. And then the space between Aaron Rodgers and Ryan Tannehill, you just really got to bank on A-Rod wanting to go out with that big F-U to the ownership and GMs because Ryan Tannehill brings a lot more running value than Aaron Rodgers. So I think that space is actually closer than people think for fantasy football purposes.
Yeah, I agree. One more thing. Let's circle back real quick to the A.J. Brown comment. So obviously A.J.'s success is very dependent on the play action and big time on efficiency. He's not a guy that's going to get 8-9 receptions. He's going to get 4 or 5, usually touchdown. You don't believe Julio is going to affect that?
No, I think Julio, it's going to reshape the offense, but I think A.J. Brown doesn't need 8 catches to blow up a game. I think you give that man the ball twice, and he's going to make some big plays happen. I think you're going to see at least 6 targets a game for that guy in that offense. You're going to see 6 targets a game. That's really all he needs. He's a red zone superstar. He's still Ryan Tannehill's favorite target until we see otherwise. I think there's a lot of value to see with A.J. Brown, albeit it's not the slot receiver, pass catcher, high reception number that a lot of us fall in love with. A.J. Brown is in that DK Metcalf realm where they're just going to go make a big play at least once a game.
Yeah, I agree, and I think they'll throw the ball more this year, too. I think their defense is taking a step back. All right, and then the next trade is between you and CJ. You want to give us some background?
Yeah, so I think I could be mistaken, but I think I had approached CJ for a trade to try to get some of his players at one point. And I think I was trying to get Dak, but I had told him about, getting players for players and things like that. And I was trying to give up a couple good pieces for one of his superstars. And he came back with a snarky remark asking me, I think he was mocking me, saying, hey, if Chris Godwin returns to his 2019 form and Chris Carson returns to his 2018 or whatever he said form, would you take that for Saquon Barkley? And I said absolutely, because I thought that value seemed pretty well, and I was really just trying to give him what he wanted to hear. He turned around and he offered me Chris Carson and Chris Godwin for Jonathan Taylor. Now, I'll admit when I first received it, it kind of got me a little bit ears perked because I was giving away my second-round pick, someone who's probably has the potential to be a top 10 running back this season. But the value just seemed too good, so I just kind of had to take it and then see where the chips fell. Chris Godwin, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated receivers in the league. I think he's going to return some serious value if he can stay healthy. And then Chris Carson's a solid RB2, so I don't think I took too much of a step down from that going forward.
No, I agree with you. I think you actually won the trade pretty handedly. Chris Godwin is a fantastic wide receiver on a offense that once again wants to air it out. And then you have Chris Carson on a team that wants to run the football. So you're going to have two players that get a lot of work, two very startable players for Jonathan Taylor, who I personally believe still has tons of question marks around him. Not the talent, more of the team. Offensive line falling apart. They're going to use Nyheim Hines. That's just the reality.
I think there was news coming out, was it today, that Frank Reich was saying he wants to get Nyheim Hines involved?
Yeah, exact quote. Yeah.
Was that exactly what he said?
He said, I want Nyheim Hines to get more touches this year.
Yeah, and I think that's going to loom. Now, I will say I think Jonathan Taylor is that feature back behind one of the best offensive lines. There's a good chance Jonathan Taylor's a star this year. I wasn't super, super high on him going into the draft. I passed on him in the first round, and he fell in my lap in the second round more so than anything. He was really just one of those picks where the value was too high, even though I wasn't super high on the player. So there's a chance Jonathan Taylor pops off, but there wasn't that emotional need to keep him, or that if it were Antonio Gibson, where I'm really betting on him going into the season, it would have been much harder to pull for me. So that obviously factored into it, the fact that going into the draft, I didn't have a massively high ranking for JT.
Yeah. Yep, and he got two great startable players once again out of it, which is a really hard offer to give up. Lastly, we have a trade between you and me,
the big one.
Say. And, this one really shook the league up. It sent earthquakes around the league. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was texting about it. People claimed rape on both sides, trade rape. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this had more about me. If I'm being, and I know that everyone probably thinks that when they trade, that the trade that they made matters more to them than it does you. But so I received Jalen Hurts, and I gave up Michael Pittman for that. Now I'm fully aware Michael Pittman is going to be their wide receiver one, but I'm in a situation where quarterback is something that I need to feel out. So I just thought it'd be worth it. Michael Pittman's never going to play, he was never going to play over the receivers that I currently have right now, especially after the acquisition of Chris Godwin. So I thought it was a good chance to upgrade at quarterback, see what I really have there. And then you obviously were pretty high on Michael Pittman. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I do like Michael Pittman. I think he's a really talented receiver. If somehow that offense is clicking, he will be, I think, a flex-worthy player. He's more there, though, definitely for just breakout potential. He's not going to start over Kupp or Mike Evans, or Devontae. But if something happens, maybe a bye week, I think he's viable. And then I don't want a second quarterback clogging up my roster if I have Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of leads into what made me actually pull the trigger on this. So post-draft, I had been pretty confident with Matt Stafford, and I still really am. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people with that Sean McVay offense. But I want to hedge my bet a little bit, and I was kind of shopping around looking for quarterbacks, and it really didn't find anything worthwhile for trading. I think all the people who are really difficult to trade with have the good quarterbacks this year. So I kind of just saw Jalen Hurts sitting on your bench. I saw the rushing value that he's going to bring. He actually has a weirdly high floor just because he's going to run the ball at least 8 times a game. He's got some rushing touchdown potential. So for this first week, he had a good matchup against Atlanta. I'm going to take him. I'm going to give up, some capital to get him, play him week 1 while I watch Matt Stafford in that offense, assess that, And then I'm perfectly comfortable with if Matt Stafford checks all the boxes that I already believe he will, I'll just roll with Stafford going forward. But Jalen Hurts is just kind of hedging my bet a little bit was the thought process.
Yeah, it makes sense. And, I mean, the reality is pretty low trade. I don't think anyone actually cared.
Yeah, nobody gave a shit.
All right, great. To wrap up the trade segment, I just want to ask you, our biggest trader, the guy that loves trading the most, in my opinion, is probably Austin.
Yeah, absolutely.
No trades yet. No biters, or he's just too confident with his team?
I definitely don't think he's too confident with his team. If I were him, I would capitalize on the Gus Edwards right now. I think Gus Edwards is at the peak value that he'll be all season.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think they're going to bring in someone. They've already been trying people out. They're going to bring in a new running back who's going to take some of that workload. He is virtually irrelevant when it comes to the pass catching aspect of the game. I think now would have been the time to trade him. I would have been immediately on the J.K. Dobbins news trying to shop him for a better football player, to be completely honest with you. I don't think it's a lack of confidence I don't think it's the confidence in his team. I think he's struggling to find people to trade with right now.
Struggling to find suitors, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fine. A lot of people don't want to trade before the season starts, which makes sense. There's just some things that have happened. I think after week 1 happens, we'll have some overreactions, and then we'll see some trades start taking place.
Yeah, I think you're going to see, especially with seeing 5 trades that happen before the season starts. I said it's the season of what's it called? The dual. What is it called when you dual match up the
stack?
The stack. I think I called it the season of the stack. I think this is also going to be a season where people are trading a lot. I think you're going to see people who are losing, who are going to be contenders for the Sacco Bowl, start to try to trade for those next year keeper people. I think there's going to be some, increases in trades this year for that reason.
It's going to get dirty mid-season, is my prediction.
Yeah, I can't wait.
All right, well, I don't think we have time to go over the matchup predictions, which is fine. ESPN kind of does that for us. Any closing thoughts today?
Yeah, I think it would be beneficial to point out how overrated some of these matchups look right now. So I just don't hold any value into some of these projections going forward. Now, it started with the league saying the final standings record that Justin was going to win. I think we all know Justin's not going to win.
There's no way.
I think it was worth mentioning on this podcast that we know Justin won't win.
He won't let himself win.
He won't let himself win. So that seeing him be the projected winner, I've had a couple people ask me what I think about my team being listed as the 12th team. I hold 0 weight in it, and I want that to be put on record.
I think, the first week projections are tough. We really have no idea. There's so many new pieces moving around, new quarterbacks on new teams, new coaches in the league. It's just kind of, set the playing field and see where these players go. But other than that, we can wrap up. Everyone get excited for this weekend. It's finally here. Some of your dreams will be crushed. And then some of y'all will be excited to get a win. But that's all I got for today.
Until next time. Bye, guys.